All right, today is officially day 2 of 100 days to profitability. So today we took a few different trades, but I'm mainly just going to go over this one because I want to show you guys the best setups that I take. I also don't have time for all of the trade recaps, all the ones that I took today, but a couple of them were losses, a couple of them were wins, but this is the best one, and I wanted to show you guys this one specifically because yesterday, day 1 of 100 days of profitability, I got a funded account. I passed my eval, and this was my first trade. Today was my first couple trades on my funded account. And on my funded account, I won 2 and I lost 1. So I won the first one, I lost 1, and then I won the third one. So that's kind of how it went. This is the third trade that I took for the day. And let's just kind of dive into it, go over it. I took it on ES. I traded with a couple micros just because I'm not trying to trade minis quite yet until I have enough drawdown. But let's jump into it and just kind of go over why we took this trade and just what our bias was on the day. So let's go to market open. So today is Thursday, March 5th, and this morning, an hour before market open, we had a red news folder event. It was unemployment claims. So just always be aware for those and see how it affects the market. Today it didn't really do much. I mean, if we're looking 6:30, yeah, I just had this little candle right here. There wasn't much effect to it. But anyways, I'm gonna show you everything on NASDAQ here on the right side, or sorry, on the left side. Let me go back just a little bit. Okay. I'm gonna have NASDAQ here on the left. This is how I usually look at the charts on my computer. And then I have ES on the right. So I ended up taking most of my trades, I think all of them just about on ES today, just because the setups looked a little bit better on ES. But I'm gonna show you everything on NASDAQ just because it makes a little bit more sense. So going into market open, let's go on the 1 minute. We can see that the London session and the Asian session, once they load in, they were right behind us. And right before market open, we just swept London lows. So we just took these out right here. And that's telling me we probably want to go up, right? We just swept all these orders. We're probably going to start moving up. It doesn't mean immediately take longs. So market opens and we start displacing to the upside, just like this. Bunch of candles to the upside. And what I wanted to see was we had relative equal highs with London and Asian highs right here. I know this isn't an exact perfect line, but you get the idea. I wanted to see price take that out. And on ES, it was pretty much the same thing, right? We had these Asian and London highs relatively equal right next to each other. So I wanted to see those get taken out. And I was pretty much looking for longs today, right? But I didn't want to hop in it just yet. I wanted to wait for maybe a little bit of a pullback and then momentum up. So anyways, fast forward, we ended up, after a few minutes of market, we ended up taking London highs on NASDAQ, but we never took them on ES. So because of that, we put in an SMT divergence, right? So I have this little preset here, SMT. So we have this SMT. We took the highs out on NASDAQ, but we never took them out on ES. So if we fail to take them on ES, that is showing us, the market is showing us that we want to go down, right? So after I saw that, I was looking a little bit more bearish instead of bullish. And I was thinking to myself, well, what can I target? If we already swept London lows, what can I have for a take profit? So I zoomed out on both time frames, or sorry, on both indices. And I like to go to the 15-minute because it's pretty clear and you can see almost everything there. Below all of this, there were these lows here. This was previous day lows right here. Let me change that. So we had previous day lows. We also had these significant hourly lows right here. There we go. And then we also had London and Asian lows from the day before. But obviously the next liquidity targets are these two lows. And the exact same thing on ES, right? Let me go ahead and just delete a couple of these things over here so I can make it a little bit better for you. And also on ES, let me see if it was on NASDAQ too. Yes, there was. So also below us, there was a first presented 4 hour fair value gap. And if we are kind of going over ICT concepts, if you guys are familiar with ICT concepts, the first presented fair value gap in an upward movement like this is typically the strongest one, and that will usually hold. Price likes to go back to it and continue. That doesn't mean it's going to every time. You just want to wait to see once price gets into this gap, wait to see what it does. So I was using that gap as my new take profit. I wanted to see price go there after we took out the London highs on Nasdaq up here, but we failed to take them on ES. I wanted to see us go down towards that gap, and also those same two lows over here on ES, right? So let's fast forward just a little bit and see what happened after that. Let me zoom in just a little bit here and over here, and then not long after is when I ended up taking a trade. So after we took the highs, I waited. There was not any, in my opinion, there was not the clearest entry setup because I didn't want to get in early. I wanted to wait till we got a little bit closer to this. And right here on ES, we got super close to this 4 hour gap, but we never actually hit it. And because of that, I was like, okay, well, if we're not going to hit that yet, let's think about what it might go up to, right? So we actually swept this low here, this one right here, putting in another SMT divergence to the downside. Now, I sometimes use SMT divergences for take profits. I also use them for trade setups. So let me explain my kind of concept here, and hopefully this makes sense. So we took out this low that I just marked out, the previous day lows on ES, but we never took them out on NASDAQ. And then we started going up, right? So right here, you might be thinking, well, if we're going up now, we might want to now finally go take out all of these highs, right? All these London highs, these Asian highs, and the other day highs on ES. There's a lot of liquidity above us, but we don't want to do that yet because there's a lot of gaps that we would be front running. So for example, there's this big 5 minute gap that I wanted to wait for price to see go all the way through it, completely invalidate that gap, and then maybe even retest it. And that's when I would look for a long. But while we were doing that on the 15-minute time frame, we actually ended up putting in a 15-minute gap. Right here. So here was the 15-minute gap, and I wanted to see how price reacted in there, right? This gap right here is going to tell us if price wants to use it. If price wants to use it to continue down towards that 4 hour gap, or if we go through it, we'll probably go to all these highs. And so I waited for price to get into that gap. Let's go down to the 1 minute, and it tapped into it. And let's see exactly where I entered. Let's fast forward just a couple candles. Oh, yes, that's right. Okay, so this is what it looked like right here. I really like to see a big candle into it with a fair value gap. This is like textbook A plus 15-minute continuation model. This is one of my favorite trade setups. I haven't personally like officially back tested the 15-minute continuation model, but it's got a pretty high win rate. I can definitely say that because I've been trading it for like a year and it wins most of the time. So anyways, there's this 1 minute gap, and once we're in this 15-minute gap, also a 5 minute gap, it's kind of both. Let me go ahead and okay, 15-minute gap. So I want to see us start moving to the downside, right? I don't want to just take a short right here at the top because you don't know if it's going to start going down. But if we have a clear invalidation of a fair value gap like this, I can get in early on this trade, right? I don't have to wait for it to go all the way down here or something like that, because by that time we're already almost to our profit target. So on the 30 seconds, this is the 1 minute, but on the 30 second, I ended up getting a little bit of a cleaner entry, and I put my stops right above this high. My entry was about here, give or take. So we had about a 10-point stop loss, 9 to 10-point stop loss. And I moved to break even at this low because that is a possible. There's also a tiny, tiny, tiny little 5 minute gap, I think. Okay, there wasn't a 5 minute gap here on ES, but there was a 5 minute gap in that same position on NASDAQ. And so that 5 minute gap here acts as it first presented, right? And I wanted to move to break even here in case we use that 5 minute gap to go up, if that makes sense. So, anyways, I moved to break even there, and then I ended up taking my first take profit. I think at this low here, I was taught to just target low hanging fruit. Yes, my complete draw is this 4 hour gap, but why not take profits on the way up there? Like, you know it's going to go there. And so I like to take profits a little bit earlier because the whole thing about day trading is to make money, right? And so I put my first take profit there, and then my second one I think was like at these lows right before that gap. And in total, on my new funded account, I made about $600 today. The first trade I took, I made $200. Then I took one more and I lost 100, so I'm down to $100. And then I won this one, and this was a little bit bigger of a trade. It was 2.5 RR. And this one got me from 100 to about 600. So I made about $500 on this trade. And it was overall A++ 15-minute continuation model to our target on liquidity, which was this big 4 hour gap down here. So it's seriously one of the easiest trade setups in my opinion, as long as you can figure out where price is going. Like, let me go to the 3 minute. This is something I noticed today. Once we put in this SMT, right, we took the highs over here on NASDAQ. We didn't do it on ES. We failed. So we put in the SMT. On the 3 minute specifically, we first invalidated this gap right here to the downside, right? This is now an IFVG. We then came back into it, retested, and continued down. And we also got a change in the state of demand or break of structure, right? It's the same thing, pretty much. And so after we put in this SMT, like, I'm just looking at all these confluences, and the market is literally telling me, it's like you're speaking to a person, or it's like you're speaking another language. If you guys can read the market like this, like these candlesticks right here are showing me that it's now going down. Oops. And so if it's going to do that, all you got to do is just zoom out a little bit and figure out, okay, well, if it's going down, where does price probably want to go now? That's how you figure out your draw on liquidity. And we zoomed out and we saw this big 4 hour gap down here, along with these lows that we could target. And it almost hit it, but it missed it literally by like 1 or 2 points. And we came back, we re-tapped a 15-minute fair value gap. And I believe it was also equilibrium of this range. Yes. I don't use equilibrium a whole lot, but I like to use it kind of as like a half off discount for price. And so you want to wait for price to get half off and kind of prove to you that it is going to keep going that way. I know that doesn't make the most sense, but in my mind it makes sense. I don't use equilibrium all the time. I just use it as a small little confluence like that. But anyways, this is just a simple 15-minute continuation model, right? There was a 15-minute gap right here. We came back into it and we waited. Once we got in to the gap, we waited for pressure to the downside, right? We had this 1 minute gap get flipped, and right there is where we take an entry, stops above the highs. Whoops. Stops above the highs, if I can get that. And our target is down here. I probably could have targeted a little bit more, honestly, if I wanted to, but that's just where you start to get, I mean, honestly, I think I probably should have done that today, but I just try my best to not be greedy with the markets because sometimes it's really easy to get greedy. So anyways, this is a trade that I took. Today is officially day 2 of 100 days to profitability. I also like to kind of mentally tell myself it's 100 days of being profitable, because I don't want to like wait mentally and tell myself, okay, now I've made it. Like, I'm taking good trades right now, and I want to convince myself and tell myself that I am profitable now, because it's all just a mindset, right? You know what you have to do, you just got to do it. But that's the hardest part. Sometimes it's hard to do it. So anyways, it was a great trade today. took it on ES, nice little 15-minute continuation model, textbook, A++ setup. Yes, I took a couple other trades. One of them was a nice win. I did have another loss. I think the other trades that I took, honestly, I don't even remember. I was so focused on this one. I think they were around here. I think I was trying to target longs up to these London highs, but we got stopped out or something like that. But anyways, if you guys have any questions, if you guys have any comments, anything that you want to kind of be made clear, I know I'm using a lot of terminology that might be a little bit higher for new traders, but I've been trading for close to 2 years now. So it just takes time. But if you have questions, comments, any advice for me on things that I can do better, drop it down in the comments and I'll hit you back and we can kind of chat about that. But other than that, hopefully you guys are learning a lot from this series. It's only day 2 of 100 and I already feel really good about this. I know I'm going to have losing days. I know I'm going to expect losing red days, but I think the biggest part of these 100 days is how I respond and how I react to those losing days. So I'm treating this as kind of a journal, kind of a little bit of a back testing, and with you guys to hold myself accountable for just making good decisions. So there's just the complete trade recap for today, and we will see you guys in the next one. Peace.